Graded cards is a distinct form of collecting within TCGs in the sports card world, but does it actually mean anything? We're trusting the companies doing the grading to assign a grade based on what we think are industry standards for perfection and quality. The grading companies, however, do set their own individual standards on what is allowed and not allowed in the pursuit of perfection. They use varied scales between them so the same card can get a slightly different grade at different companies. But what about at the same company? That's the first issue we're going to see here, where a poster of the One Ring card was sent into Beckett and came back with a score of 9.5. The owner requested Beckett look at it again since he did a submission in person, and Beckett came back with the same score. Mostly contended here was a score of 9 on the edges. The experts at Beckett stood by the score. The owner took it and sold it online. The new owner then cracked the slab, sent it back into Beckett, and it came out like this: absolute perfection, a black label perfect 10. So how, if the original owner was not able to make the case in person that this card was in fact perfect, why did another grader or team, depending on how the process works, decide it was actually a 10? The process for grading may vary between the different companies, but I expect it usually includes viewing the card under multiple colors of light to reveal different kinds of imperfections, then a review by an expert grader to ensure that the process was followed and to confirm the score. I've heard that the different companies may do some steps in pairs, where both graders confirm the grades or the light colors happen in a different order, but in general, unless a mark on the edges was missed by the second grading team at Beckett, there should have been no reason for the score to change. Since Beckett had graded this card before, there should have been some residue in their system for that original process. I know the slab was cracked, so there wasn't an obvious serial number to match it up to, except this card was serialized. They should absolutely know if they had graded the 4 of 100 One Ring poster card before and why it received the score that it did. And I mention this because Beckett had failed to notice something similar on sports cards. Magic the Gathering's first foray into the One of One club was with the One Ring in summer of 2023, having only one version printed in the full art Elvish language. Sports cards companies, though, pump out One of One items in the same sets now, using things like patches from jerseys, basic jersey material, wood from bats, and parts of other equipment to signify that this is the only card for this player this year with their worn jersey, and many different types of options there. Now, I may have an unreasonable expectation of the grading companies, but they should know what one of ones were created within a specific set. Beckett, though, graded a Panini jersey one of one with the Patrick Mahomes jersey, replaced with a different part of the jersey to make it more desirable. However, Beckett had already graded this card as a one of one with the original jersey piece, did not notice on its second pass through that there was not a card produced from Panini in this set with a Mahomes card and a Nike patch. That may explain, though, why Beckett's sales are absolutely plummeting. Gymrate keeps track of the submissions through Beckett and PSA and CGC, even down to day-over-day comparisons for how many submissions were made, what the grades handed out that day were, and a bunch of other minutiae to add some transparency to the card grading industry. Beckett had already submitted 2 other fakes for Lamar Jackson and Saquon Barkley, so this Mahomes card may have tipped the scales forever. Beckett is suffering huge double-digit losses on card submissions. Their monthly intake during November was lower than PSA's daily throughput. Beckett is suffering in other ways as well. Despite reduced consumer confidence in their scores and process, their parent company is under investigation for multiple kinds of fraud, and its CEO, Greg Lindberg, has pleaded guilty to multiple charges. And of course, this guy doesn't run the exact day-to-day of Beckett, but if he was running scams on other industries and pressuring his other holdings to commit fraud, I'm more than willing to believe that he encouraged and supported people at Beckett to cut corners and produce items to gather more attention. Beckett last year announced that it would start offering graded manga service to kick off a path of eventually offering graded comic book services. However, its lead for comic book grading, Mark Wilson, eventually left the company for PSA, and PSA is supposed to start offering its comic book grading services in Q1 of 2025. Beckett has attempted to delay this process by suing Wilson over a non-compete agreement and another coworker who left for PSA. But it appears that no such non-compete exists, and Beckett will not be able to stop PSA from beating them to this service offering. Also, Mark Wilson is absolutely jacked. Who does Beckett think they're messing with here? As it all tumbles downhill for Beckett, other companies are going to make moves to grab some market share, including PGC. PGC's new owner is, of course, Rudy from Alpha Investments, and the internet is sometimes split on if Rudy is a pump and dumper or if he actually knows what he's talking about. Now, though, it looks like Rudy's going to put some money where his mouth is, and is offering free booster boxes for every 25 cards someone submits to PGC for grading in different games. While that only accounts for TCG grading, TCGs do make up almost 50% of all grading submissions. All of this is kind of hit and miss for different types of collectors as well. Many Magic players seek out the rarest cards just to be able to play them in decks, while the majority of Pokemon collectors prefer slab cards for display over having the best card in their deck. Lorcana pros are starting to show up with max rarity decks to events, while also having a steady stream of graded promos and enchanted cards coming through the grading companies. So depending on what your collecting style is, the downfall of Beckett could have little to no impact on you. Let me know what you think about Beckett's struggles and which grading company you would prefer to use. Thanks for watching. Take care.